Hello, and welcome to the Franklin Method Fellowship. Thank you so much for being our patron, and we really appreciate your support. And today we're going to be talking about the lungs and do some movements that are related to the lungs. And we're going to start out with tapping, and then we're going to move on to movements around the spine using our lungs as our focus point. So let's go ahead and begin and take your ball. And if you don't have a ball, go ahead and use your hand. You can use your hand for this. Maybe make a fist. So take your ball, and we're going to start by, you can take two balls if you want to, or one. Let's go ahead and begin with tapping. We're going to tap our lungs, and first we're going to be outlining our lungs. So go ahead and start tapping at the top. That's where the pleural dome is, and come down the sternum. So you have the lungs coming down right on each side of the sternum and under the rib cage and in the back and up around the spine. And I'm going to tap both, see if I can reach that. And coming back up. And I'm going to do it again.
And I think as we're tapping too, any place that we can't quite reach when we're tapping, we can imagine that we're tapping that spot as well, especially in my back. So
Yeah,
really imagining the lungs on either side of the spine and tapping as much as I can. But it's okay if I can't reach everything. I can imagine that I'm getting it.
right. And sometimes if you can't reach the back, you could tap in the front thinking about the back. That's another way to do it.
Nice.
Yeah. So notice your breath as you're doing this. And what we're going to do after we finish tapping is just stop and notice how breathing feels. My breath feels fuller, especially on one side. One side feels a little bit more full than the other.
I can definitely feel ribs moving, which feels nice. And I can feel
Mm,
more of a sense of expanding into my back. Feels good.
yeah, that's nice. I'm going to tap my back a little bit, see if I can make myself become more aware of the back. And just stop and notice.
Mm.
Yeah, that does it. So let's just talk real quick about what proprioception is. And proprioception is our body's awareness of its limbs in space or our body in space. And so under the skin, we have several different types of proprioceptors, and they're called sensory organs. And they each do a different thing. Like some senses pressure, some senses touch, some senses pain, some senses brushing, shaking, all of those different things. So in the Franklin method, we often do some tapping and brushing and shaking.
And what's great is that when we tap, we waken up these proprioceptors that they respond to the tapping. So the vibration, the pressure, the touch, and they send a message to our brain, which then sends a message back down to our body and helps us reorganize our body in space. And we notice that as, oh, my breath feels a little more full. I can feel ribs moving. My posture feels more lifted, or whatever you notice that change, that positive change in your body.
That's awesome. So why don't we start out with some spinal movement? And Solange, you want to do that with your sponge?
Sure. So we talked about the qualities of the lungs and the lungs being airy and spongy and light. So I have my sponge, and when we flex forward, we're going to imagine that that lung is compressing. And then as we extend, imagine that that lung is then expanding and lengthening. So we'll do that a few times. As we flex, imagine your lungs compressing. And I have the lung on my right side, but you can imagine both. And as you extend, imagine it expanding and lengthening. And this next time, as we flex forward, can you imagine that the lung is getting compressed in the front, but then lengthening in the back? And then as you extend, it's getting compressed a little in the back and then lengthening in the front. And we'll do that again. So compressing the sponge, compressed in the front, but lengthening and stretching in the back. And as we extend, getting compressed in the back and then lengthening in the front. We'll do that one more time. Compressed in the front, lengthening in the back. And extend, compressed in the back, and lengthening in the front. And let's just take a moment and notice our posture, notice our breath. And you have a lovely image of a slinky, don't you, Deb?
I do. Right. So as we flex, the slinky compresses. And as we extend, it lengthens.
Hmm. So we
So
can
let's go ahead
change that image, right? From
and,
the sponge to the slinky or like a spring.
yeah. All right. So I'll do it with my slinky. So I'm going to kind of put it in the middle here. All right. So as we flex, the slinky is compressing in the front. I like the one in the front and in the back, what happens too. And then as we extend, the slinky is lengthening.
Hmm.
And we flex, and the slinky comes together. And as we extend, the slinky slides apart. And flex, compression, and extend, lengthening, the extension of the slinky.
I really
And
notice it's like as that spring gets compressed, then that compression then helps me extend. It's like that energy that gets stored.
I love that part.
It then lifts me into extension.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we try that? That energy getting stored with the compression and then lifting us up into extension. And we also had the image that we used of an accordion
Mm-hmm.
as
I love
well.
that image. Yeah.
So if you can imagine you're playing the accordion, and as you extend, right, that accordion just opens up and your lungs can just sing out a beautiful sound.
Yeah, absolutely.
What sound would your lungs be playing as you flex and extend?
When I think of this, I always go back to Sacre Coeur. And and they just have such beautiful music that they're playing very upbeat. Yeah, nice French music.
Hmm.
The old country French music is very beautiful too. Very lively.
So let's
Think
take a
about all of
moment.
that energy going into our lungs, being
Nice.
alive. Hmm.
So let's notice our lungs and see what you can sense and feel.
I like extension is more open. I feel like I just want to sit back on my heel. Normally I tend to go forward, so I'm very easily back on my heel. I just feel very open in my chest.
That's great.
How about you, Solange?
Yes, my breathing feels easy. I can feel a nice sense of openness across the chest. Yeah.
We're going to move on to side bending the spine. And as we side bend, of course, I want to show you this is one lung, my right lung, my left lung, and my heart. And the left lung is going to side bend over the heart and over the right lung. And then it's going to come back down. It's going to slide up and over, and back and down. And again, sliding up and over. And just notice the heart in between, how it's being comforted. And back and down. And what if we imagine that the right lung is a pillow, and that as we're sliding the left lung up and over, the head of the heart is resting on the pillow. And we really like that position, don't you, Solange?
Yeah, it
How about
feels
if we
nice.
add to it and imagine that the left lung is a blanket covering us over the pillow? What kind of a blanket do you like, Solange?
I like something fluffy and soft.
And warm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do it one more time. Sliding over the heart, sliding up, and sliding back down. Yeah. I'm gonna put that down and just notice how I feel on that side. And maybe notice my arms. Feels like they both benefited from the movement because we had the left lung sliding up and over and the right one sliding down and under. What do you notice in your body?
Definitely the arms feel lighter,
Mm-hmm.
and I could feel it's really easy to side bend into the side we just did.
Oh, big difference, huh? Look at that. I'm side bending a lot to the right, not so much to the left. So let's do the left side. Solange, will you do that part?
Sure. So we're going to bend, and then we have the top lung, which is going to slide up and over. And then it's going to slide down as we bend, imagining that lung sliding up and over the heart. And I don't have the lung underneath, but if you can imagine that as it slides up and over, that the heart rests on a comfy pillow. And I also like the image as we side bend of kind of a balance scale.
Mm-hmm.
So one lung going up, the other lung going down. You think of a scale, and then coming out of the side bend, that lung's going to go down and the other lung's going to come up. So let's try that again using the balance image. One side goes down, the other up. And then to come out of it, one side goes down, the other up. And let's do that one more time. And then we'll notice that side.
More side bending movement, huh?
So again, why did that happen? Why is our side bending better? Why are our arms lighter? Is it magic?
I think it's magic.
Right. So when we do these embodiments and we really get into our body, we our our muscles and everything kind of dynamically organizes itself. So we use just the right amount of effort for things like lifting the arm or bending to the side. So muscles that shouldn't be working aren't turned on. And then the right muscles are working in just the right amount. And how cool that that happens just by following an image.
It's amazing. It's magic. I know. I love that part, how you add an image to it, because when we add an image to something, we're adding emotion to it. And so that's what amplifies the effect of the image is the emotion that we add. So maybe the comfy pillow or, a bright sun or, um, there's just so many things, music, right? We're talking about the accordion and picturing something that I remember as something being very beautiful.
Nice. So we
Well,
have
let's
one more
move.
motion, right? One more motion of the
Yeah,
spine.
right. This is my favorite one. It's rotating the lungs and the heart around the spine. And so long as I remember last time your image of the twirly skirt, I'm thinking of Marilyn Monroe. Yeah, it feels good. Or kind of like a tether ball swinging around the pole.
Mhm.
When I was pregnant, people would say that's what I look like because I was pretty lean and had a nice big belly. What other images do you come up with the spinal movement?
Well, I really enjoy just the anatomical image of just as you go to one side, one lung coming back and then the other lung coming forward. So moving around the spine. So if you
The
can
one going
imagine
back,
that.
forward, kind of like an opening.
So one lung goes back, the other comes forward, and then it switches.
I do it to the side. Maybe people can get a better view.
And if you really think about that happening, even though my props are outside of the body, if you think about that happening, like one back, one forward, being in the center of your body. So to really get a sense of that happening in the center.
Hmm.
Any other images that you have with rotation?
I'm just thinking about how I feel right now. How I feel just open in my neck. So just basically, like there's um, a canal coming up and just opening right up here in the neck after that, especially with that opening of the lungs. I love that.
Mm.
Make really skirt, tetherball.
So let us know if you have any images that come to you as you move through these spinal movements. Share your comments, share your questions. You can always send us an email to franklinmethodfellowship@gmail.com. We would love to hear how your practice is going. And thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.